Here we are. Hey, Kat, we're going live. Who do you want to do a shout out to?
I'd love to give a shout out to my amazing Coven family of alchemists and visionaries.
I love that. Coven, here we go. Guys, once again, I get to interview the coolest people on the planet. Not off the planet, but on the planet. Today we're working with Kat Howell. She's a multi eight-figure mentor who helps visionaries and founders step into abundant well-being using techniques of magic. In her new book called Magic Source Codes: The Craft of Reality, Kat talks about everything from chaos and suicide to her red light, green light method to the ethics of magic. We're going to talk about all that today. We're also going to discuss her approach that taps into ancient hermetic practices of alchemy that helps hundreds of entrepreneurs recalibrate from their red state to the green state. Kat, how are you? We are on live, and I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here with you.
I am thrilled that you are up and about at 5 in the morning wherever you are in New Zealand. It's what that's 12:30 here in Florida, so thank you for
It's
that.
worth it.
It's awesome. Let's talk about some cool things that we'll start with things people may or may not know. You have recently come into magic, into alchemy, and have written a book all about those things. Let's start with the basics so that people know where we're grounded. What is alchemy, first of all?
Yeah, good question to start off with because that is a word that is shrouded in so much stigma and fear and misunderstanding. So, the way that I define alchemy and magic is the ability to create physical change through thought, imagination alone.
Okay. So when we're talking about alchemy, we're not talking about the old school alchemists that take lead and change it into gold, that sort of thing. We're talking about within us.
Metaphorically, we're talking about the same thing because if you think about creating physical change through imagination or thought, usually it is chaos or destruction that leads the way to creating the expansions that we desire in life. So the lead is literally the chaos, the destruction that you encounter, and you have to transmute it. It is your job as the alchemist to see through that chaos to turn that lead into gold. So or is that figuratively speaking? Yeah,
Yeah,
either what my brain
yeah.
is going to be a bit foggy at this time, but
It's all good.
we're talking about the same thing in a different way. Absolutely. But no, it's not literally the ability to turn lead into gold. Although, if you think about it, all the technologies that we use, the rocket ships we built, the cell phones, the cancer treatment hardware that we use, all of that was the human imagination that turned some kind of metal or mineral or some kind of compound into a technology that is used to help us expand, to heal, to connect. I mean, even the software, right, is a form of
Yeah.
magic, but we normalize it to such an extent that we're so blind to it right in front of our faces that
You,
literally we are magicians. Everything we use is a form of magic in a way.
it's I read in your book, I was reading that part of the book where you talk about how the imagination to think about these technologies became real, right? And I used to think back in the day when I used to watch Star Trek, like the original series, and they had the medical bed you could like lay on, right? And we've got that now. You can lay on the bed and get diagnosed. You've got the MRIs. We've got the best one of all was the flip phone. And when the flip phone here, it was all on board.
Yeah.
So, um, what made you take what most of us would say is like our normal everyday life and become um, involved with magic and alchemy? What made the change in you?
So, sorry, you're asking me like how to
Like, how did
create.
you get into it, right?
Oh,
What
how did I
caused
get
the
into it?
change? Right.
Right. So I talk about this in Magic Source Codes so I built a very successful company, as you know, because you were involved in that side of my world back in 2016. I think that's when we first met,
Yeah,
2016 or 17. It was an advertising company. We had a training component to it. Grew to be very, very successful, $20 million within 3 short years. I was financially at the top of my game. I had everything that I had ever strived to or desired, but I found myself feeling unfulfilled and stuck. And red, I didn't understand these concepts back then the way that I explain them or understand them now, but I encountered reds, and the more I ignored myself, the more I believed myself to be stuck, the deeper those reds became until I fell into depression and suicidal thoughts. And that became almost a daily thing for me, where I was living with suicidal thoughts for almost a year. And it all came to sort of a screeching halt when I had a mental breakdown in 2020. And from that space of just being of really you know what it was? It was like facing my worst fear. That mental breakdown brought me to my knees because I was so afraid of I had built such an identity around the successful businesswoman, the material, the money, that I became very afraid of losing those things. And anytime we give a lot of attention and focus to fears, we ultimately take ourselves there because we are so much more sovereign and powerful than any fears that exist. So the rock bottom was what made me face them in full force and realize, oh, it's survivable. I'm fine. But that's when magic started to enter my life. And
okay,
it started to enter in really, at first, like synchronicitous messages here and there. And then the timing of a knock on the door just as I'm about to kill myself. Like little things like that, that when I look back on it now and I string them together, I realize there was something that was really supporting me and trying to guide me. And so that
yeah,
was my first encounter with magic. And then I started to dabble a little bit with a few things, but it was really Dr. Dean Radin's book, Real Magic, that I picked up around 2020. His research on psychic phenomenon and alchemy and magic is really what made me open my heart and my mind to this world. And the moment that I could get my mind behind it and go, oh, this makes sense. This data makes sense. Okay, cool. Let me try it. And then I jumped in and started doing rituals and really diving into the world of magic. It just was like night and day. My life was night and day.
yeah.
And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, really.
You know, that interview I think you did with Dean, it's been a few weeks ago, for me
Yeah.
was just amazing,
Oh,
right?
good.
Because
He's amazing. And like
you
moment of magic for me yesterday, because I literally just launched Magic Source Codes. My first review, like I just felt like such an imposter interviewing him because I was fangirling and he meant so much to my he didn't even realize that he meant so much. And I sent him a copy of the book a month ago, and he was the first review
um,
yesterday that I got on Amazon, and it was just like that was magic to me. That was like a moment that I just want to bottle up and like
well,
ocean
between
over.
I think between him, you're going to get Joe Dispenza on your podcast too. I'm quite sure.
Oh,
So,
I love that. Yeah, he's had a huge impact on me too. Yeah.
absolutely. You know, one of the things I
Mhm.
was reading about was, and you said, by the way, just a second ago, it was those little things like the knock on the door that stopped the suicide. Yeah, I don't think that was a little thing. I think that was a pretty big thing.
Yeah, but I guess here's one thing that's worth noting about magic is that it is defined as meaningful coincidences or synchronicities, meaning is something that only has meaning to the perceiver. So this is why magic is really difficult to explain to other people, the existence of it, and why it's really difficult to prove, because what has meaning for me has no meaning for you at all. When
Yes.
I say to you, like, I quit my job as CEO, I resigned because I was so suicidal. I walked into a bookstore and the first words I opened up was this giant sign that said quit. is the best strategy to do sometimes, like that has no meaning to you. To you, that's so easy to brush off as like that's a coincidence.
Right.
But me, the more I collect that evidence, the more I know. And that's the thing about magic that makes it so difficult to really measure and prove its existence, because it is very much in the eye of the perceiver.
That
Yeah.
is absolutely. I ask a lot of people who come on the show, I ask them, how do you know it's not just coincidence, lucky, you stumbled upon something when you needed it? And I think what you just said, like, sums it up, right? Like, you were the first person that I ran into when I was doing the whole living in the car thing. And
Mm.
you were the first person that I was going, like, I don't know how this is going to end. And it opened up, and, like, bam, all of a sudden, hey, there's Cat Howell. Let's do
I
this
was
thing.
a wild card, that's for sure. Testing on video.
Oh
And
my
you
gosh.
trusted me, so that I'm forever grateful for that. And it's been
Uh,
such an honor to watch you grow
You
and
know, we
build what
wouldn't
you've
be
built.
here right now. We would not be
Amazing,
here right
right?
now. It
Well,
is.
this is a moment of magic we're experiencing. You're interviewing me about
I am.
magic. How
Right?
crazy is that? Who
Yeah.
We never would have thought that in 2016.
No,
In
there's
fact,
not.
remember I used to sell shirts that said, "I'm a Facebook marketer, not a fucking magician."
Yeah.
Remember that?
Well, now
Literally.
you're a
Isn't
magician.
life delicious? It's like a
You.
literal 180. The universe has such an amazing sense of humor. It's like, "Oh yeah, you wanna bet?"
Yeah, now you're a magician. But now
Yeah.
you've used the marketing stuff actually and the magic together. And that is, I don't know, even if the word powerful is powerful enough to actually say what you're doing, you know. Um, let's talk about one thing that I was on one of your podcasts the other day. You were announcing the book the first time, and you talked about your red light, green light, which I think is just such a brilliant way of putting intuition. Can we talk about that? And you tell people more about what it's like?
It's just been a game changer in my own life, and anyone that's applied it or encountered it, it's been fail proof. It's so simple. It is based off the idea that our emotions are our guidance system. Truly,
Hmm.
truly, they are what um, is the communication tool from our creative core, from our intuition. This part of ourselves that understand our path of least resistance and knows exactly how to get us to what we desire. So when you feel red light emotions, so emotions that don't feel good in the body, emotions that put stress on the parasympathetic nervous system, and there's a whole range of emotions, of red emotions. There's
Yep.
hundreds of them, and there's lots of different names for them, but you know if it feels bad. It's very obvious and simple to identify because it doesn't feel good. That's red. On the flip side of that, when you're feeling good feelings or emotions that enhance your immunity, enhance the nervous system. And again, there's a whole spectrum, but you pretty much know if you feel good or you feel bad. The good ones are green light. And essentially, what that communication means is that when you're in green, when you're feeling good, what you're telling yourself is you are aligned to your path of least resistance. Green equals go. Whatever your perspective, whatever your thoughts are right now, it is aligned. It will work out for you. Keep going. When you're feeling red, what you're telling yourself is stop. Stop. You're off your path of least resistance. Your perspective, your thought process, the way you're approaching something is not right. You're veering. It's like Marco Polo game. Like you're going further away from the Shangri-La. So like when you use this for magic, for example, it's beautiful, or manifestation. It's the single biggest tip I can give for anyone trying to conjure or manifest in their lives. Do not conjure when you're in red. Do not try to manifest your dream car or your dream house when you're in red. Don't even bother getting on sales calls. Don't even bother doing anything in your business. The priority at that stage, what you're telling yourself is like, you need to transmute like an alchemist back to green. That's your number one job. If you have to make space for that red, this is not to villainize reds either, because the reds are really there to show us the desire of co-creation. So
Mhm.
they're delicious, they're beautiful. This is not like positive thinking you should only be in green, you should never experience red. No, because love without strife would not be, it would not allow for life at all. It would not allow for expansion. And we are creative beings. Therefore, we need the reds to communicate to us like what a new desire is. But you shouldn't be conjuring, you shouldn't be trying to manifest things when you're in red, because what you're telling yourself is like, you're in red. Number one priority, the thing to get what you want is to teach yourself how to transmute that red to a green. That's how you'll receive what it is that you want. And what I have found to be true in my life is that the deeper the reds you're in, so for those who are listening who have been finding themselves in depression, a lot of visionaries, I'm sure, listening to this call, a lot of creatives, a lot of black sheep, people that are, don't conform to society. Typically, they represent the biggest cohort that feel depression or that experience depressive thoughts. My experience of that is that it really means that you're trying to receive something huge. You're growing and you're expanding really fast. It's like your shell got really small, and the deep red is like that dissonance between it. So the good news about it is that when you teach yourself to transmute that deep red, usually the expansion, the pop on the back of that is massive. Like, it's huge. It's really big, because the other thing I talk about in magic source codes is there's polarity and duality in everything, including emotions. And so the polarity and duality of depression is the highest vibration of all, which is love and gratitude and appreciation. So when you transmute depression, you're putting yourself, like, you're receiving the highest vibration of all, which is the good news. If you're feeling depressed right now, is that
Yeah.
you're trying to receive something really freaking epic in your life. That's what's happening.
Do you know
Mm.
what I like about the way you're describing this is that even though you're talking about magic, you're making it relatable to people who may go like, "Oh, magic is a bunch of hooey," or "I don't believe in these things." But everyone can relate to red light, green light. They can relate to gut feelings. They can relate to how their emotions make them feel. And I really love in the book how you separate the difference between your senses and emotions, where the senses are.
Mm.
I think that's brilliant because I've never seen it put that way. But talk about that just for a little bit, the difference between the senses and your emotions.
So you're inhabiting a physical body,
Mhm.
this glorious temple that you're in control of, but you're inhabiting a world that is made up of energy and vibrations. And this is not hearsay. This is not me being woohoo. This is facts. Like, this is what we know of the world so far. Everything is a wave, a vibration, a particle, electromagnetism, radio waves, sound is a wave, light is a wave, all of it
Mhm.
is a wave. So your temple, your body is being hit by billions of signals around you every single second of every moment of the day. And even though your processing capabilities are beyond any machine that we've ever created as humans, you can only really handle or filter so much of that data. And you do that through your senses, your eyes, your sight, your touch, your taste.
Right.
And that is how you create a perception of the reality that you're inhabiting, that you're walking through. But what we now understand about the dangers of that is that all of that, all the information that comes through your senses, including your retinas, gets filtered through a bias system of your beliefs of how reality works, and your beliefs, basically your
Hmm.
perceptions of reality. So no two people, and they've proven this time and time again, will see the same room in the same way or perceive it in the same way, because it goes through this filtering mechanism. So it's really risky to run our lives based off our physical realities, because we have to understand that that is really like a picture that we're creating from our six senses, that then goes through this perceptual filter. And then from there we go, oh, this person said this to me, now I feel red, now I feel upset about that,
Right.
because data we're getting through is really biased based off our own understanding and our belief system. And so also what I talk about in the book is that the reality itself that we experience is very much a reflection of our past actions and behaviors. So again,
Yes.
it's super risky to like allow ourselves to feel some kind of way about life based off what our senses are inputting into our bodies. As alchemists, it's our job to lead the way, to go, I want this reality. I want to become a vibrational match to this outcome. And so I am going to tune into that signal, irrespective of what data is coming in through me. And then what you'll find is that's exactly what you're going to start getting back.
Gotcha.
Reality, like you'll pull yourself into that probability.
So the senses trigger the emotions, and the emotions are what show you if you're in the red light, green light, and those are the things that you want to pay attention to.
The senses trigger thoughts, with which are synaptic connections, which trigger chemicals that get dispersed through the body, and those are your emotions. So emotions are always tied to thoughts,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Eh, yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, I love that you break it down that way because it makes magic accessible to the masses, right? It's not, the magic is the word, but the process is exactly what you just explained to us right there.
Yeah.
And we are all alchemists, I guess, whether we want to believe it or not. It's a matter of you're either an intentional alchemist or you're just a blind
Oh,
whatever.
listen, if you told like an ancient Egyptian that in 2022 we're talking across a StreamYard, Zoom, whatever platform with virtually no lag time, face to face, they would be like, that's magic. How
Yes,
do you do that? But I guess that's what I was saying at the beginning is we've normalized the technology side so much and put that under science that we're forgetting that science is really just a way to try to explain magic, an attempt
nice.
to try to explain magic. And we've become so numb to it because it's in our lives so much that we're just like, how does it exist? And that's why when you begin to intentionally lead the way as an alchemist in your life, it's so important that the first step is that you become very perceptive of the synchronicities, the coincidences, the meaningful things happening around you. Because it's only when you begin to really pay attention to that that you start to really know something is going on, because we're
Gotcha.
so blind to it without that intentional awareness. We're so blind to it. And then we don't believe it. And then we're like, it doesn't exist. But then we're tapping away on cell phones that like no one can fucking explain how it works. And we're like, there's no magic. It was like,
Right.
well, if you showed that device to somebody even 300 years ago, they would probably call that magic. So, what is your definition of magic here? Like, are you expecting a hat to literally, a rabbit to literally come out of a hat? Because if, and that's the only way you'll believe it? Or is it like, you have to have $1 million in your bank account and that's the only way? Because guess what, both of those things have also been done. Like, where do you draw the line, of like, that is magic, and that's when I'll know.
That is a very good point because I'm pretty sure you could have all the great teachers of the world of history come back and do their miracles, perform their magic as they were then, and
And
nobody would
people would
believe it.
still be trolling,
They would
right? They
still
would
be
still be
trolling.
not happy. Like, and that's the thing, is like everything goes through your perceptions of belief. If you do not believe in something, it doesn't matter what somebody shows you. You will find holes. You will find reasons why it's a problem. And that's why you have like people who think the earth is flat and people who are conspiracy, and they like really believe it in their minds. They ignore all the other data and vice versa. And who's right, who's wrong, who fucking cares? Like, the thing that's true is that everything's true if you fucking believe it.
Everything's true
Literally,
if you
because
believe
that's
it.
all you'll
That is true.
perceive and you will make that reality. So that's, again, that's why it's never about like, is it true or is it false? Is magic real? Is it fake? There's duality in everything. Ultimately, what you believe, you make truth in your reality. So the real question is, and this is one that I learned from a good friend of mine, Jesse Elder. The real question is it useful? Is it useful to believe that I am a hapless victim to this universe and I have no fucking say, and I'm like this boat rocked out to sea and everything that comes to me is just like luck?
Right.
No, that's well, maybe that's useful for some people, but for me, that's not useful at all. Like, that makes me feel like shit. And like, what's the fucking point? Is it useful to believe that I have dominion over my reality and I can transmute and I can command and I guide myself and I expand and it always gets better. It always gets better. And my imagination is like not even the limits of where I can go. That's absolutely useful to me, because when I believe that, I take radical responsibility for my actions. I don't point fingers at people.
Right.
I don't play a victim anymore. And I co-create with the universe in the most delicious of ways that impacts people around me. And I have well-being when I do that. So 100% it's useful for me to believe that. And I think that's true of anything. Like, do you want to believe in religion or God or whatever? Like, that is on you, and you have to ask yourself, is it useful? And for some people the answer will be yes, and for some people it would be no, and that's so unique to you. But I think that's really important. Stop like trying to prove something. Like, is it true, is it real? Well, you're already getting a lot of freaking evidence all around. Like, what more do you want? What's true is that whatever you believe will be the truth. Whatever you believe, if you believe every man is a backstabbing cheater, I promise you, you're going to observe those traits in almost every man you encounter. If you believe that humans are pests and here to destroy the planet, 100% I believe that you will attract and perceive evidence of how the earth is plummeting and all the resources are coming to an end, because you'll find a lot of content on that. But also, if you choose to believe that humans are the most inspirational species that have ever been around, and we're so resilient and we conquer so many things and we always find abundance and new ways to create, you'll perceive that too. Which one is more useful to believe in, right?
I like that. I was just studying some AI, artificial intelligence, and they're saying that some of the AIs are getting to be to the point where they're maybe conscious, right? And so now people are wondering and worrying about whether or not the AIs are going to take over and they're going to destroy the world and humans are going to be killed off by the AI. And I was thinking, couldn't we, since we're creating this, create the AI so it's not the destructive Terminator thing? Couldn't we create the abundant, useful robots that are part of our daily lives instead of the doom and gloom that I think most people are trying to push as an agenda?
I mean, if you look at like history books, the ancient Romans were talking about how we were all doomed in the next 100 years. Humanity was like, that's it. There would be no more resources. And yet, 2,000 years later, we're still fucking here. We're still going strong. It's getting better. Crime rates are down. Lifespan is longer.
Yep.
Yes, there's massive issues with depression, but overall humans have are just like amazing. We're the embodiment of this creative force, as everything is, trees and rocks and everything, but we are the literal manifestation and embodiment of a creative force. That's why we're called creative beings. And when we apply our imagination, it's just like we are full on alchemists. We're aliens, is what I believe. Like, we don't need to worry about it. We're probably AI. Like, that's
we
probably exactly what we are. Like, some
we
form
might
of
be.
AI of DNA, like this meat package of like, right? Isn't it crazy that every living thing contains DNA, like this source code? And then you'd have to ask yourself, like, if we came across aliens, would they have DNA or would it be another kind of source code? And like, it's just everything is magic. Everything is like, what the fuck? Like, this is so crazy, you know? And even just looking at nature, you watch like half an hour of David Attenborough
Oh
and you
yeah.
see seeds that like come out with like nozzles to like impregnate cactuses, and it looks like something from a fucking sci-fi movie right here on this planet.
It does.
Plants are the
It's
trippiest thing. They're How do you get like a grown ass fucking thing that
uh,
you can cut limbs off of it and it just like grows back? Like, what is that? What the
it's not
hell
a
is that?
person,
Who
that's for
does
sure.
that? You know?
So if
Yeah.
you were going to tell people, let's say you were going to have some, wisdom to impart upon people here, and it's like, what, I want you to learn this, and if you read my book, I want you to do this. What is that bit of wisdom that you want to impart upon people?
I think it's just that remembering space. So the first of all, what I want to impart is that you're supposed to feel good. You're supposed to feel good because you will literally find the world's cornucopia will open to you the moment you're in those you're playing your the moment your being is playing the chords of those high alchemy states of love, play, and flow. The moment you are playing those notes with your vibration, you find the world literally just goes, you want this? Oh, you want this? You want more money? You want opportunities? You want this? Here you go. So you're supposed to feel good. You're supposed to expand. It always gets better. It always gets better. What you think is possible for you is not even the tip of what you are deserving for. You are so fucking sovereign. The geometry that you're playing with right now, you are capable of playing with geometry that is a million times fucking bigger and receiving at that level. But it starts with what you believe. That's how powerful you are. The universe can never go against your free will. It can never go against your free will. That's how powerful you are. So what you believe is ultimately what you will allow yourself to receive and create in this world. And just based off that, I would say the single biggest tip to overcoming those beliefs is the understanding that we're, to our core, social creatures. Humans are very social. We're super influenced by our peers, the tribe, the gang determines the crime type of thing. So the easiest way to create or recode beliefs around what you're capable of is to literally just invest in surrounding yourself in the right people that are doing the things that you want is the easiest thing, hands down, because you will observe those behaviors and you'll normalize it because you're such a social creature. You'll normalize whatever your peers do. And that's the fastest way to overcome, rather than sitting in a chair and talking about it for the next 7 years of where you got like a shitty money belief. Like, just go find people that are fucking making lots of money and rocking it and happy and not sacrificing themselves, because it exists, and you'll normalize that shit very fast. Watch. And then the moment you normalize it, you're creating it. It's what's happening for you. It's done. It's already done. Yeah.
For people that just tuned in or you've listened to this whole thing and they want more of your knowledge, I absolutely have to tell them that they need to pop over to your website and check you out. Super easy, cathowell.com. You can get your books there. You've got courses there. You've got background there. Everything, including more about the red light, green light that you talked about, more of your source codes. I love everything that you've been talking today. I've just been enthralled listening to you and watching you get. You went into flow.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about it.
You went into flow, and I love what you were talking about and doing and being and saying. So, thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. We're gonna have to talk some more in the future, and who knows what's gonna happen from here.
Magic.
All right, magic will happen. Thank you so much for being on, Kat. I really appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye, everybody. See you next time.